as a class in your one class really shouldn't count. If that's all you got, then that's what you got to go with. But we're looking for research that you have done either by approaching your instructor or your instructor approached you, maybe that you presented at Palmer, if you did a summer undergraduate research experience. Those are the kinds of research that we're talking about. If you've been a research assistant to a professor or preceptor, things like that. If you don't have that individual research, you can still talk about other research that you have done. Most professional schools are looking for students who not only have done research, but understand the value that research brings. So you want to let them know that you have that. And if possible, you can talk about where you presented. And Palmer counts. I mean, I know we think of it as like, oh, it's on campus, not that big of a deal. It is a symposium and it counts. So if you presented at Palmer, we would want you to include that. Application deadlines, we talked about this a little bit before. You want to get your applications in early. Generally, I would recommend at least 30 to 60 days before the deadline, unless you're working with rolling admissions, which means you want to apply as soon as you possibly can. You also do need to make sure that your application is 100% complete by the deadline. And some of these things you don't have control over. You don't have control of when you get your scores back. You don't have control of when your transcripts get sent or when your letters get uploaded. So that's why you want to give yourself lots of different time to get that going. Some programs will do interviews. That doesn't happen for all programs. But if you do get an interview, again, I kind of look at it a little bit like the personal statement. These are not like deep diving interviews where they're going to ask you like really hard questions about things where you'll have to cram a bunch. This is generally them getting to know you. Are you a good fit for their program? Will you fit in with the other students? How will you contribute? So I recommend Googling sample questions, talking to alums, getting a little bit of an idea of how those work. 9 times out of 10, our students who do graduate school interviews, those interviews are fairly informal and laid back. They're just getting to know you a little bit. I am a big options girl. So even though it might seem pessimistic to have a backup plan, in my experience, if you have a backup plan, it kind of stresses you out a little bit less. If you're going to take the MCAT and you're saying to yourself, my whole life depends on how I do on this MCAT. I'm never going to get into medical school if I don't do good on this MCAT. My whole life will be over if I don't do good on this MCAT. That's a lot of pressure. Whereas if you have a backup plan where you can say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do my best, but I do know that I have other options of things that I can do. Even if that option is, I'm going to take a gap year and do my MCAT again. It kind of helps with your mental positivity. If you are going to do a gap year, it's really important for you to understand how you're going to change things. So, or if you apply and you don't get in, how are you going to change things for the next year? Sometimes you can ask the programs to give you feedback and let you know how you could increase your chances. Generally, ways that you can increase your chances of getting in, you can retake your standardized test. You can retake courses so that you can increase your GPA. The thing about retaking courses is generally you have to take them at the institution in which you took the first course, or it's harder to up that GPA quite a bit. You can take additional graduate courses. There's a lot of programs now that have master's degree in biomedical science where you can kind of prove to the admissions committee that you're able to complete this level of work. You can get a job in a related field, or you can consider AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps is a one-year program where you can do a lot of different things throughout the United States. It's kind of considered Peace Corps, but in America. There isn't a lot of direct healthcare experience with AmeriCorps, but there is healthcare advocacy, and there is working with low income and poverty populations, which can be helpful. Couple of things that you could think about for jobs for your gap year or beyond. Medical lab science is always an option. You know, we have a degree here for medical lab science that is a certified program. If you're interested in working in a medical lab, if you have a straight biology degree, then generally you have to start as a lab assistant and kind of work your way up, but most labs are willing to work with you on that. You can do anything in quality assurance, quality control. If you think about that, any company that manufactures a product needs QA, QC. Microbiology is any organization that produces food, needs microbiologists on staff. Research and development, phlebotomy, medical scribes. We have had some students work in medical device and pharmaceutical sales. And as of recently, we have actually had a handful of graduates work as intraoperative neuromonitoring specialists. Has anybody heard of that? Oh, okay. So these alums work for a company called Invasive, and you actually sit in surgery and you monitor during brain surgery. You monitor what's going on and you communicate with the surgeon. To be an intraoperative neuromonitoring specialist, you need a bachelor's degree in biology, and that's it. They'll train you to do everything else. So these are all opportunities that with your bachelor's degree, you're able to go right into and think about doing from that perspective if you're trying to build some of those skills. How career services can help you. So what we do with a lot of students who are interested in professional school is we actually just kind of help them organize where they're at and what needs to happen next. So if you come in and talk to me and say, this is what I want to do, this is my plan, I'll be like, okay, this is what we do first, get that done, and then come back, and then we'll talk about the next step. For some students, we kind of act as their mentor or their coach. So if you feel like you're the kind of person who needs somebody to be checking in, making sure that you're moving forward, we can be that person. We can do a standing meeting where we're consistently kind of going over where you're at next. We provide assistance with personal statements. So if you write a personal statement, we're happy to take a look at it and offer feedback before you show it to your advisor, which we would recommend that you do also. And we can also help with your graduate school resume just to kind of get you prepared. The other kinds of things that we do in career services is we can assist students in finding jobs that are related to their field of study, finding jobs that count for direct patient care, as well as setting up job shadows if that's something that you are interested in doing. Okay, that is what I prepared for you today. Do you guys have any questions for me about anything? No questions. It was like that information packed, right, guys? I'm just kidding. All right, awesome. Stop share. I think we're less than a minute on the